Picasso, uh, would you mind very much if we made a drawing of you today?
Peut-être que c'est une âge jeune.
That means not at all. An artist of your brilliance and ability, please go ahead. I think that's what he was saying. In about 1979, Betty Edwards brought out this book, Drawing on the Right-Hand Side of the Brain, and in it she shows you how to use the creative side of the brain when learning how to draw, and in some ways makes it easier to do. So, not forgetting the lessons we've done from Betty, I think the book is useful, and if you can get a copy, go for it. This is another angle. So, what I've decided to call this is drawing on the other side of the brain, or the left hand side of the brain, which is actually true. It's using the analytical side of the brain, and we are going to show you how you take a human figure or anything and break it down into simple geometric shapes, which is another way of analyzing what you're going to draw and makes it simpler and easier to approach complicated things. Right, here's the finished study I made of Picasso. I'm not sure it looks precisely like him, but never mind. Well, here's our friend Picasso. Now, how did we start that drawing? Well, I would recommend starting with the head. And what I'm going to do is show you here that I'm going to simplify that shape that we just saw now into the simplest geometric shape that I can find. And now we apply the same principle to the arms and to the hands. There's a few tricks you need to keep in mind, like joining the fingers together to make one shape. You can divide them up afterwards into simpler shapes. The idea is to make as big a shape as you possibly can, bearing in mind that you're going to break it down into smaller geometric shapes as you progress. So here we can see in the next slide how we are breaking the figure down into smaller geometric shapes. We don't actually draw the shape of the eye, we draw the measurement of the eye. If you look at the lines between the mouth and the eye, that will give you some idea of the way in which we break down the face into measurements. So we don't draw the details just yet, we're trying to plot them exactly where they're going to be going. So we're going to put some details in. What you do in a drawing like this is you go over in layers. So once you've covered the whole section, you must work it up to the same level. So what I'm showing you in the first drawing here is we are now starting to go back into the face, and we've got our measurements now. We can start putting in the details of the eyes and the mouth and things like that, and the fingers. As soon as you're done with that, you've got to leave it and then work down into the body. We can see here that we've worked up over sections, and you can observe underneath those sections the underdrawing, which you can take away with a rubber as you go or leave behind. It's quite nice to show that. Here we can see the lines have all been worked up. Now I do make a point here that grades of pencil are quite important, so when you emphasize the line you use a softer pencil, and when you're dealing with smaller folds of lighter tones you use a different pencil. I actually used a B on the outer lines, the heavier lines, and on the folds, the softer lines, I used an H pencil. When we apply a tone to the figure, the first step is to apply a complete overlay of tone over the whole figure. Basically just fill it in, not over everywhere. The areas that are definitely white are the only ones that you leave blank. Then you cover in the rest of the area with a light tone. This is how you start with your first layer. Then in the second layer that we add to the drawing, we take all the areas that are definitely black, the darkest tones, and you add those in on top of the gray area that you've just done, obviously leaving out the areas that are not dark. The black areas are now done, the middle tone areas are now done, and what you do is you go back to the same pencil that you used with the first layer, which is a harder pencil than the dark tones. This pencil you use to add all the finishing touches. You add as much detail as you want, and you finish it in your own personal way. And that should bring you to the end of the drawing. Now we'll do lots more tutorials and we'll add in a lot of details. There's only so much you can put into a video, but this is a very good technique to get you going in drawing if you follow the step-by-step method with discipline. There's a discipline side to drawing. It's just like any physical activity. You need discipline to follow the steps right through from start to finish, and then you should start produce a pleasing result. So give it a try and have a lot of fun. And finally, thank you, Picasso. You've been a real sport, and we'll meet again sometime. Picasso, excuse me, Picasso, you trying to do some drawing there. It's not too bad for a beginner. Maybe I can interest you in a drawing course. I'll give you a special rate because I can see you haven't got a lot of experience, so perhaps I can help you out. Picasso, are you listening to me? It looks kind of busy. All right.